and I think that shows a positive example to the next generations. I am proud of that. They're humble.
The France airport was the first warning sign, but most people missed it. It was right there in the footage, in the timestamps, in the faces of staff who had no idea what was coming through those doors. The Filipino wave was arriving not in ones and twos, but all at once, like nothing seen before. The terminal shut down, and somewhere across France, watching it all unfold, Nadal was left completely speechless, because Eala hadn't even landed yet. This is May 2026. Ranked number 42 officially, with a career high of 29, the highest any Filipino has ever reached in WTA history. She pushed world number 2 Rybakina in Rome just 8 days ago, and now she's in Strasbourg this very week, 7 days from Roland Garros, still grinding, still hunting clay minutes, while her army is already in Paris. Melbourne saw traffic jams around her court before dawn. Abu Dhabi saw workers abandon entire shifts, and Rome saw Philippine diplomats leave their desks for courtside seats. Coco Gauff even publicly admitted she mentally prepares for Eala's crowd before a single ball is struck. Now Roland Garros is the stage, and France has never hosted anything like this. This channel called it first. Subscribe before the draw drops, because what really happened at that France airport when Eala's Filipino army arrived like never before is the story every broadcast is too afraid to tell. Let's start with what the cameras actually caught. May 2026, Charles de Gaulle Airport, Paris. The arrivals terminal at Terminal 2 was not built for this. And no terminal is, because what walked through those automatic doors was not a delegation, not a tour group, not a corporate convoy, but a wave of Filipino supporters carrying flags, banners, and matching shirts with one name printed across the back. Security personnel, who had spent decades managing crowds, later described it as something they had no training for. The queues backed up through the arrivals hall and spilled out onto the pavement outside. Staff were pulled in from other terminals just to control the flow, and even then, regular passenger movement slowed to a near standstill. France had hosted the World Cup, France had hosted the Olympics, but France had never hosted anything like this. A Filipino surge mobilized around a single 20-year-old tennis player who had not yet won a Grand Slam singles title. That detail matters. She had not won one yet. This was not a victory parade. This was anticipation. Raw, traveling, passport stamping anticipation from a diaspora that has been waiting for this moment longer than most tennis fans even realize. To understand why this happened, you need to go back further than the airport. You need to go back to a country where the courts were cracked, the nets were broken, and the fences were unfinished. Eala said it herself in Paris last year, standing in front of journalists at Roland Garros for the first time, explaining that the contrast between where she learned the game and where she stood that day was something most people in that room would never fully understand. She grew up on those broken courts, building her game on surfaces that professionals in Europe would refuse even to train on. And at 13 years old, her family made a decision that would change Philippine tennis history. They sent her to Mallorca, Spain, to train at the Rafael Nadal Academy. That academy is not a development program in the traditional sense. It is not a scholarship scheme or a wildcard pathway. It is a philosophy. Rafael Nadal Academy was built around the idea that suffering is not something a champion avoids, but something they learn to control, absorb, and eventually turn into performance. It is something a champion actively chooses. Every drill, every session, every early morning run on the red clay of Mallorca carries that ethos, and Eala absorbed it completely. She graduated from the academy in 2023, by which point she had already captured the 2022 US Open Girls Singles title, becoming the first Filipino Grand Slam junior champion in history. She left Mallorca with a trophy, a rising ranking trajectory, and a work ethic that the WTA Tour was about to discover the hard way. The breakout came at the March 2025 Miami Open. She entered as a wild card, ranked 140th in the world, with no expectations beyond survival. The tournament did not see her as a threat past the opening rounds. Then she beat Jelena Ostapenko in the second round. Madison Keys followed in the round of 16, the reigning Australian Open champion sent out of the draw. Then came Iga Swiatek, world number 1 and 6-time Grand Slam champion, in the quarterfinals. 3 top 10 players in one tournament. One wild card from Manila standing at the baseline, refusing to be intimidated by any of it. When Swiatek's final backhand drifted long and the match ended, Eala didn't scream or collapse. She just stood there, wide-eyed, absorbing the moment in a way that made it clear she had been preparing for it her entire life. She eventually lost to Jessica Pegula in the semi-finals, but by then the story had already been written. The Philippines had a tennis player, a real one, and the Filipino following began to mobilize. What happened next unfolded across a single calendar year at a speed that surprised even her. By June 2025, she had reached her first WTA Tour final at Eastbourne. By August, she had captured her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, Mexico. By the end of August, she had become the first Filipino in the Open era to win a Grand Slam main draw singles match, defeating Clara Tauson, ranked 14th in the world, at the US Open in New York. In the stands that day, the Filipino crowd was loud enough that Tauson's own team later acknowledged they had prepared specifically for the atmosphere. Yola lost in the second round to the eventual finalist, but the win stood, the milestone stood, and the diaspora scattered across every time zone watched it happen in real time and understood exactly what it meant. November 19th, 2025. That date needs its own paragraph. 1 year to the day after Nadal played his final professional match, a Davis Cup defeat to Botic van de Zandschulp that closed a 23-year career, he walked back onto a tennis court for the first time since retirement. He was 39 years old, a 22-time Grand Slam champion, with 14 Roland Garros titles to his name. He could have chosen anyone on earth to hit with. Instead, he chose his own academy in Mallorca. Rafael Nadal Academy became the stage for something quieter, but more symbolic. The two left-handers spent 45 minutes on court together, exchanging baseline rallies, running drills, and doing exactly what the academy was built for: work. Afterward, Nadal posted a video of the session publicly, writing that it felt great to be back on court, that it was wonderful to practice with her, and that next time he would be stronger. The 22-time Grand Slam champion, telling a 20-year-old from Quezon City that he would need to raise his level to match her. The tennis world saw the post. It saw the footage, and for a moment, a genuine, unscripted, unrehearsed moment, it went completely speechless. But here is the thing about that session that the headlines largely skipped over. In an interview conducted months later with Andy Roddick, Yola was asked what it is like being around Nadal. Her mentor, the person whose academy shaped her game, the man whose philosophy she carries into every match. Her answer was immediate. She said she always goes speechless around him, that it never gets easier, that knowing everything he has achieved, and standing next to him in person, makes her lose her words every single time. The irony is almost too cinematic to feel real. The player that Nadal is speechless watching, the mentor that Yola is speechless standing next to. Rafael Nadal Academy becomes more than a training ground in that framing. It becomes the meeting point of two careers shaped by the same clay, the same discipline, the same silence between points. Two left-handers, one court in Mallorca. A moment tennis is not going to forget quickly. 2026 arrived, and the Filipino army scaled up in ways nobody had predicted. The season opener in Auckland saw Yola reach the semi-finals, pushing her into the WTA top 50 for the first time, an unprecedented milestone for any player from the Philippines. Then came the Australian Open. Melbourne Park, January 2026. Yola was drawn against Alicia Parks in the first round on court 6, one of the smaller outer courts in the complex. The Filipino community in Melbourne arrived before the gates even opened. By match time, the queues outside court 6 had stretched so far that they caused congestion on the roads surrounding the venue. The BBC covered it. The footage circulated widely. Amanda Anisimova, watching from the stands, told reporters she stayed specifically because the energy was unlike anything she had experienced at a tennis venue before. Yola lost the match, but the crowd did not care. The ovation after the final point lasted longer than most victory celebrations in Melbourne. The circuit moved on through the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Dubai, and at every stop the pattern held. Fans arrived early, queues formed before gates opened, and inside the arenas the noise during Yola's matches was repeatedly described by players as closer to a football stadium than a tennis court. In Dubai, Yola defeated world number 8 Jasmine Paolini in the third round, 6-1, 7-6. The reaction inside the stadium that night was something the Dubai Tennis Championships had not experienced in its 30-year history. Dubai Tennis Championships became one of the clearest demonstrations of how quickly her matches were reshaping the atmosphere of the tour. Coco Gauff, who faced Yola in the quarterfinals, was asked before the match how she was approaching the environment. Her response was measured. She said she had played in hostile crowds before in Rome and Paris, that she believed that kind of energy was good for the sport, but also acknowledged she had to mentally prepare in a different way than for a standard match. Then came the European clay season, and with it, a different kind of test. Eala's game is built for hard courts. The left-handed serve, the heavy topspin, the aggressive baseline positioning, all calibrated for pace and bounce. Clay changes everything. It slows the ball, extends rallies, and rewards patience, construction, and endurance over instinct. In every measurable way, it is the surface that should give her the most trouble. She went through Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, and Rome. She lost to Ostapenko in Linz, dropped an early round in Stuttgart, and fell to Mertens in Madrid. Then in Rome, something shifted. She beat Magdalena Freck in the first round, then avenged an earlier loss by defeating Wang Xinyu in straight sets. She reached the third round of the Italian Open for the first time in her career, before falling to world number 2 Elena Rybakina in a match far tighter than the scoreline suggested. Afterward, she told Tennis Channel she was finding her footing on clay, that she was stronger physically and mentally than a year ago, and that the work done during the winter was beginning to show. This week, she is in Strasbourg. Originally entered in qualifying, a top 40 player chose extra clay matches just days before a Grand Slam. That alone says everything about the mindset built at Rafael Nadal Academy. Then a withdrawal moved her into the main draw. She is now in the same half as Emma Raducanu, with a potential path that could include Katarzyna Kowa and Marie Buzkova before the later rounds. 1 week from now, Roland Garros begins. The draw ceremony will place her somewhere in a field that includes Aryna Sabalenka, defending champion Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, and Elena Rybakina. Last year, she lost in the first round at Roland Garros to Amanda Anisimova, 0-6, 6-2, 3-6. Back then, she arrived as a historic debutante, a flag bearer, the first Filipino woman to appear in a Grand Slam main draw in the Open era. This year, she arrives as something entirely different. A top 40 player with a Grand Slam win, a WTA title, a career-high ranking of world number 29, and an army that has already checked into Paris hotels, booked tickets, and is waiting for the draw to decide which court will become its center. France does not have a protocol for this. French Open, Roland Garros, has hosted Serena Williams with American flags covering every available section of Court Philippe Chatrier. It has hosted Federer with Swiss red and white draped across entire stadiums. It has never hosted a Filipino diaspora of this size, this coordination, and this intensity descending on a single player who grew up on cracked courts in Quezon City and built herself into a top 30 player on the WTA Tour. The tournament organizers know it is coming. The players know it is coming. The French Tennis Federation has been watching the Melbourne footage, the Abu Dhabi scenes, the Rome atmosphere, and understanding that what arrives in Paris in the next 7 days will not fit any familiar template. And Nadal? He is retired. He is in Mallorca. He is watching from the distance of someone who spent 23 years at the center of the sport, and now observes it from the outside. But the Rafa Nadal Academy, that carries his name, produced this. Rafael Nadal Academy stands behind the philosophy he built. That suffering is a choice, that work never stops, and that the level required to win at Roland Garros is something most people are never willing to pay. That philosophy is now walking into Paris in the body of a 20-year-old left-hander from the Philippines. He saw her potential before the rankings confirmed it. He sent congratulatory messages after Miami, after Eastbourne, after Guadalajara, after her US Open breakthrough. He even came out of retirement to hit with her once. Briefly, quietly, without ceremony. But the tennis world understood what it meant. He admitted she made him want to be stronger. And that is the story the airport footage was really trying to tell. Not chaos for the sake of spectacle, but the arrival of something heavier than that. A nation that was told for decades it could not produce a world-class tennis player was now watching one of its own walk through the arrivals gate at Charles de Gaulle. Racket bag on her shoulder. Roland Garros just 7 days away. The terminal did not shut down because of disorder. It slowed because of meaning. A moment too large to move through quickly. Eala had not even hit a ball yet, and France was already reacting to her presence. If this breakdown gave you something mainstream coverage is missing, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because when the Roland Garros draw drops, when the first round matches begin, and when that Filipino crowd fills whatever court she is assigned, This is where the story will be followed for what it really is.